there. I don't usually do an introduction for my videos, but I thought it would be interesting to do one for Peachtober. My name is Angelique. I'm an illustrator and printmaker based out of the greater Seattle area. I run a small business, AC Gina Art, where I make and sell primarily hand-carved block prints, usually mini, so 3x4 are my most common size prints. I sell those, other block printed, hand printed items, and then vinyl stickers, usually of those prints. So in this vlog, I show a little bit about the process going into Peachtober, an art challenge during the month of October led by Furry Little Peach over on Instagram. It's super illustrative, so I imagine there are other block printers who are also doing this challenge, but most folks doing it seem to be doing illustration. So I am doing the illustration. I'm also carving it out of a rubber block and making a hand-carved print every single day of October. And that turns into a lot of preparing because I cannot reasonably do one every single day with the amount of work that it takes. I forgot to mention why. Doing one block print every single day for an entire month in and of itself is a lot of work. But I forgot to mention that in addition to my small art business, I'm also a therapist in private practice. So I find that I need to work in chunks rather than being able to do one every single day because I don't have the capacity. Today is October 6th. I've already carved the first 8 blocks, and in this vlog you'll see mostly the process of doing the first 4, and then at the end you'll see a little bit about getting ready for the next. So I'll post probably maybe 2 or 3 more vlogs during this month of just a compilation of the process. So thanks for watching. Hope you enjoy. Start with my general sketch. So we got a really fat, giant-cheeked chipmunk here, and it's stuffing an enormous acorn in its mouth, and it's got its little hands on the side. So I started sketching pretty soon after the prompt list was released, which was I think the 1st or 2nd day of September. And I was so excited. The prompts were really amazing this year. I think that the illustration of the prompt list was also really beautiful, and I felt really inspired by it, so I jumped right in. I told myself this year I'm gonna be actually more prepared because I have this initial drive to get prepared, to get ahead of the game, and then pretty soon after I fall out of it, and then I fall behind, and I'm trying to catch up pretty much for the rest of the month. So I did a lot more prep this year, but it was still really hard this first week. So you'll see kind of just how I got everything going in this initial week. I only had, I think, that brief clip of me sketching. I thought that I did some screen recordings on my iPad, but they're nowhere to be found. So that was a bummer. But because I'm working and it requires so much time to make these prints, what I have ended up doing, and I'm speaking now from the 5th of October, I have to cram as many as I possibly can into the weekend so that during the week I can just be working, like seeing clients, because I don't have a lot of capacity, which I learned just this past week. I had nothing in me to do more Peachtober until literally the weekend. So it's been tough, but anyway, I'll show kind of just the process of this first week, talk a little bit about what it was like, and then I'll share some of my thoughts about prepping for the second week at the end. Okay, talk soon. Hmm. Hmm. It's kind of messy. These lines are quite thin. Oh, okay. It is Monday. It's Monday. It's the 29th of September, 2 days before Peachtober officially begins. And I have been very busy preparing. I am just carving a block now, as I have been doing for the past 4 days. I've just been carving, I've been printing, I've been thinking. And the month hasn't even begun, so it's about to be super crazy, very stressful. Good thing to feel stressed about. I have a lot more time this year compared to last. So a lot more flexibility and space to just keep making without the overwhelm that I experienced last year. But the overwhelm is still here. It's still here. It's showing up in other ways. So that has been stressful. I've got posts scheduled, just like last year. It has begun. So today's post was sharing a few entries from last year. Tomorrow's post is materials that you're going to be using for Peachtober, but they're the same materials that I always use. And then October 1st is acorn. And I've got that ready. So this is, I'm carving the 4th block. I've already got first 3 done. I did those in just the last couple days. I hope that I could actually do all 4 of them on Friday a few days ago, but I totally was like, I completely underestimated how much time it would take, because usually I can do them pretty quickly, but this year I'm trying to just be a little bit slower, a little bit more intentional and mindful, because then the blocks don't turn out as I like them and I end up just really rushing the process just to be done, which yes, I need to do, I need to be done, but it feels nice to just go a little bit slower and take my time and be really careful with the marks I'm making. So that's good and bad because I don't have as much time. So I definitely am going to have to pick up the pace as we go a little bit further into the month. Please please disregard all the complaining that might come up and the exhaustion. Maybe not disregard it, but take it with a grain of salt, because I put a lot of pressure on myself to do things to the best extent possible, and I'm trying to be really good and move away from some of that perfectionism. I think that's why I want to really slow down my blocks, but it's a direct tension against the time limit. So overall, there's pros and cons, but generally this is, I think, a really exciting thing to be doing. I feel very grateful that I can do it, and I make a lot of really great work out of it every year. So hopefully same goes for this year. I'm already super excited about a bunch of my prompts this year, so hopefully you enjoy it as well. Thanks for tuning in. I finished carving and printing all of those 4 initial blocks, and I'm just hanging the prints to dry over in the corner where I have a clothesline set up. The reason that I do 4 at a time is because when I initially start drawing them, the file that I have in Procreate is the size of like a piece of letter paper, and I can only fit 4 since I'm carving blocks to fit on 3x4 inch paper. So that's why I do 4 at a time. It just makes the most sense for me. So all that carving and printing took forever. I had mentioned earlier that I was trying to carve a little bit slower to be more intentional and mindful, which I did, I think, successfully for those first 4, but I could already feel myself getting antsy and wanting to pick up the pace just so I could be done, and that's always a really difficult trap to fall into. So as the days continued on, I did start to carve a little bit faster, and it took some of the joy away. But oh gosh, it's such a reminder that this month is just brutal. Okay, just lots of work. I'm getting set up here to take photos, which is a whole ordeal. Oh my gosh, it's so much. Okay, you'll see. Taking photos is a whole production. Okay, how did I get the other ones? Hair. It's a shadow. So too empty. Y'all. The work to do this hurts my back so much. But it must be done. Okay, let's go. So here I'm starting to trace the next 4 prompts. This is a part that takes a ridiculous amount of time. There has to be an easier way, but I haven't found it. So I draw everything on Procreate because that feels the easiest to clean up, to shift, to modify, and I can have my reference photos right there. And then I print out that sheet of paper here, and then I trace it with tracing paper, and then I transfer that drawing onto the block just with a bone fold. But oh my gosh, it's annoying and so time consuming. I had considered before I got a printer, I thought about getting a laser printer because that can transfer to rubber blocks with a little bit of rubbing alcohol. But when I did that, I couldn't get a very good transfer. I don't know if that was probably just user error, I don't know, but it didn't make sense to get a laser printer, and inkjet just made the most sense for what I want to do long term. So this is just a part that I've kept, and it's definitely annoying, but it still makes more sense for me to draw on Procreate rather than just draw by hand. There are sometimes when I will draw prompts by hand, like I think peachtober 2023, I drew prompts by hand. But with the kinds of designs and things I want to do, it's just easier to do it on Procreate. So it takes a lot of time and it's pretty annoying. I think the one I'm tracing right now is Poppy, which I think is prompt 5. Yeah, I think that's prompt 5. So yeah, that's pretty annoying. Anyway, I thought I would just close this out chatting a little bit about how I felt going into week 2. I guess it's not technically week 2. When I say week 2, I mean like my next chunk of prompts, which I guess it is the second week. What is today? Yeah, I guess it technically is the second week of October, even though the month started on a Wednesday in the middle of a week. But oh my gosh, y'all, I mentioned multiple times that this year I was really gonna try and slow down and be mindful. And when I initially started, I was feeling so good. I was like, yeah, carving so slow, feels nice, feels intentional. And then the dread kicked in pretty quickly. This happens every year since I started doing this. I've made a lot of changes in my life to try and accommodate for my art business. And this year I have the most time yet, but I also now own 2 small businesses. So it's really, when you're self-employed, you work 24/7, and that's how I've been feeling. Just lots and lots of pressure to constantly be going. Today's Monday, October 6th, and I spent Friday, Saturday, and Sunday working on peachtober, basically all day. Like yesterday, I was just at my desk all day, and it definitely sucks the life out of you. I am, of course, very grateful to be able to even do this at all. But wow, it is very exhausting, and it's literally 6 days into the month. So things are definitely difficult. The medium I'm using also makes it a little bit more intensive and exhausting because it's not just illustrating. I think if I was just illustrating, it would feel a lot easier. But who knows? I'm sure I probably would also struggle. But it's illustrating. It's also making sure that I am thinking about the illustration. Oh, yep, she's tired. Making sure I'm thinking about how to illustrate it in a way where it will show up well as a block print in essentially just one color. And then it's also, like I'm doing now, tracing the drawing that I made, transferring it, carving it, and then printing it. So it takes a lot of energy out of me. But, either way, I'm making really good stuff, and that sounded really bad. In the sense that I make a lot of good work during the month of October. I have a difficult time remembering that, and I'm just like, oh, I want to be done. But I do make a lot of prints, and content, hopefully now, that helps me for like the next year, basically. So of course, not every print I make is gonna do super well, and I fully know that, but I get a good number of prints that I really like and that other folks also really like. So yeah, all that to say, things have been hard, which I anticipated would happen just like last year. I'm hoping that documenting this process and talking about it a little bit more will help me just to have a bit of an outlet, because last year it was just me, just me. And things were also really difficult last year, generally in my life, in my work life. And so, yeah, thanks for tuning in. I'm super curious to see how things will go in the next coming weeks, to see if the dread becomes heavier, to see if it changes at all, because the seasons are also changing. It's becoming darker a lot earlier. Who knows? We'll see. But thanks for watching.